Blue Line Moving, tell me about the company, what you guys are doing.
So local and long distance moving. I used to work for this company as a mover over 20 years ago. I retired from the Army and I worked out a deal to buy it from the old owner that I used to work for, which is really cool. He was a police officer, hence Blue Line Moving, as in the thin blue line. But I've taken it a step further where I use the money that people spend on their moves. Some of that money goes to me cleaning up America. So I have the Great American Cleanup where I go to border towns and I pick up trash on every 9/11 and we raise money and donate it to the Sheriff's Department for the town in which I clean up.
You go to the border, so you go every year.
Yes.
What has your experience been so far doing that?
It's been life-changing. You know, you're seeing people at their worst moment. I mean, crossing over a river just to get to this country. It tells you how great our country is, that people are willing to risk their lives, their children's lives, to make that trek through the Darien Gap and then cross over the Rio Grande. It's humbling to see people coming and sacrificing like that for their family to come to this country. And being a service member and fighting for this country, I really know what it's about. You know what I mean? It means something to me. And you know, I don't like what I'm seeing down there. I wish there was another way to do it, but they are human beings at the same time, right? So when you hear their stories and you actually talk to them and you ask them, why are you coming here? And they tell you that the reason they're coming here is because they can't make any money to support their family in the countries that they're coming from. Their children are starving, and it just, you know, I'm a father of 4, and when you see little children suffering like that, it just breaks my heart, and I feel like, you know, I'm not helping them, I'm helping the town in which they're coming through, because they're overrun, you know? They're overrun. There's clothes everywhere, there's trash everywhere, there's wild animals, dogs that are left behind when they cross the border. All the border towns have wild dogs all over the place. It's really an emergency, and I felt like I could help out. I want to continue to serve, so that's what I do. I go on every 9/11 and I pick up trash for 3 days.
Describe to us the kinds of things you're finding when you go to do these cleanups.
Yeah, so we're finding lots of clothes, obviously. So when they cross the Rio, they usually have a black garbage bag with dry clothes in it. So when they come across the Rio, obviously they're soaking wet. They get into the United States, they take their wet clothes off and they leave it right there on the shore, and then they put their dry clothes on, throw the garbage bag on the ground, and then they're searching for Border Patrol. So you find a lot of clothes and shoes and book bags, but what you find a lot of is IDs. I've found thousands of IDs from all over the world. So people are getting rid of their IDs as soon as they get into the United States. And I ask them, why do you get rid of your ID? And they say, well, I need to be from wherever they will keep me here in the United States. So if I'm from Guatemala, they don't know if I'm from Venezuela or Guatemala or Nicaragua. If I'm more likely to stay in this country if I'm from Venezuela, well, then I'm from Venezuela.
What's an ID that you found the farthest away from, like country-wise?
I've found a Chinese ID before. I found Russian paperwork. So that's pretty far. I mean, but I've talked to people from Africa, from all over the world, from Yemen one time, which is frightening. I mean, we have a lot of countries that hate our guts coming here across our southern border, it's wide open. I've been there 10 times in the last 2 years, and I'm just a regular civilian, blue collar guy. It's eye-opening, and for the fighting I did for this country, to see where it's at, it's just, I had to do something. And I felt like, what's the easiest thing I can do? Pick up garbage. And that's what I do.
You mentioned before that you saw a Chinese flag flying outside of a business down there. So describe to us kind of, I feel like China is something that we don't really think about when we think about the southern border. So talk to us about that threat.
I broke my heart. I mean, I love this country. I mean, obviously you see it, right? I've served for this country. I retired from the Army. To see a Chinese flag being flown in our country, I could not believe it. That I was staring at that red and yellow flag. I don't know, I felt angry. I felt like we're not doing enough in this country to love it. Like, there should be an American flag flying there, right? They had an American flag that was torn to shreds, tied around the pole. Like, and this brand new bright red Chinese flag flying there, right on the border. What do you think Chinese nationals that are crossing illegally into this country, the first things, or one of the first things they see is a Chinese flag flying there? Like, are you trying to help these people? Like, your mind starts to wonder, what exactly is going on here?
How do you think leftists, who are usually environmentalists, how do they justify supporting like these open border policies with like all this trash around? Like, have you ever seen leftist groups out there with you picking up trash or anything like that?
No, and it's outrageous because a lot of these areas are protected lands. Okay, these are places that should be pristine. Right, there's wildlife living there. These clothes are floating down the rivers that are emptying into our oceans. I'm literally drinking out of a paper straw when there are, we're talking thousands and thousands of tons of garbage. Not just clothes, we're talking prescription drugs. I've seen a lot of that, bottles of drugs, condoms, which is frightening to think, not in the wrapper, out of the wrapper. So what does that tell you is going on? When you see children that are coming across this border, the day after I left, 2 children drowned in the river. Right after I left, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. It breaks my heart at being a father of 4 to see that people are willing to let their children to say, hey, go ahead with these people you don't know, right? A child was crying. I was picking up trash. He came out of the river. He's crying. I'm trying to console him. Like, it's okay, buddy. You're in America now. You're going to be okay. And he was very distraught. And when I got him to the Border Patrol agent, I said, why do you think he's crying? I'm assuming it's because he just crossed the river, right? Naturally, a child would be scared of that. He said, no, those aren't his family members. He wants to know where his mom and his dad are. Think about that, man. This kid's 6 years old. Could you imagine crossing the Rio Grande at 6 years old with people that you don't know? What life is that for that child going forward? It's heartbreaking to see what's going on. There are dogs everywhere. In every border town, thousands of dogs and cats running wild. They're in the gas stations, they're in the street corners, they're in the parking lots of the supermarkets. Okay, they're everywhere. We rescued 40 dogs last year from the border, and I could have rescued 400 if we could have had the room to do it. So it's an environmental catastrophe. It's a catastrophe of our country that we allow this to happen. We've created a magnet that they are coming to. We need to close the border, and we need to do it the right way. I can't say that I have the answer to stopping it. That's not my job, but it needs to stop.
Just to clarify, so you have not seen any leftist environmental groups come by the border to help clean up and do what you do?
Not a single one, and I've been there 10 times, okay, in the last 2 years, whether I'm doing a dog rescue or cleaning up trash or going there to do like a pre-cleanup to see where all the hot spots are. Never once have I seen another group of people down there picking up trash. It's overwhelmed. We're talking knee to waist high in some areas of clothes that have just been piled on top of each other year after year, and literally you can't even see the ground. You're walking on clothes. There is no ground. The clothes are the ground. The luggage and the bags and the cups and the drink bottles, and this stuff is floating right down our rivers. And it's destroying this beautiful land. When I look at that river, I'm like, God, it's beautiful here. It really is. And then you just take a turn to the left, and it's just as closed as far as the eye can see. What are they doing to our country? And you never see leftists down there, ever.
Tell us about your experience assisting in East Palestine. You actually delivered the pallets of water from President Trump. Tell us about that.
I did, and man, are they suffering. That's another place in the United States that's been forgotten about, just like the border. The people down there are completely forgotten about. The people of East Palestine are completely forgotten about, okay? They literally had like a chemical bomb explode in their town, okay? And these people can't even get a decent place to stay until Norfolk Southern figures out what they're gonna do to clean up the area, when we have illegal aliens staying in 4- and 5-star hotels in New York City, and we have American citizens, some of them veterans, who can't even get a decent roof over their head till they figure out what the hell is going on in this town. All right, I was there. I could smell it in the air. I could feel it on my skin. I actually spoke with people. How are you doing? And they're miserable. They don't understand why Joe Biden has not come down there and helped them. He's supposed to be Scranton Joe, the working man's president, right? Well, there are working men and women down in East Palestine that would love to see him and talk to him and say, how could you help us, Mr. President? We need your help here. But guess who had to come? President Trump, right? He's the one that came. How bad is that? When the President of the United States can't come to somewhere that is 3 hours maybe from Washington, D.C., couldn't take the time out of his day, President Trump forced Pete Buttigieg to come and walk around and point fingers with brand new boots on that have never seen dirt before and a vest that's never been worn, and he's pointing around like he knows what the hell he's doing. It drives me nuts. And these poor people just need water. I'm getting calls from people, even as last week, someone reached out to me and said, we're running out of water. Could you get a message to President Trump? He said he would come back if the government didn't act. Could you please get a message to him and tell him we need more water, we need help? These are American citizens, tax-paying, hard-working Americans, and they're getting the shaft in East Palestine.
Have any other presidential candidates bothered to address this or talk to the people there?
Not that I know of. I mean, the only person I've seen is President Trump, and then obviously Pete Buttigieg went because he had no choice at that point when President Trump showed up. You know, you should have seen the people lining up on the street. It was almost like they had forgotten that something had happened in their town for 5-10 minutes while he drove by, and they're chanting USA. It gives me goosebumps right now thinking about it. Those people weren't worried about East Palestine at that moment, okay? Because they knew someone was here that was going to keep his word and help them, all right, when they needed it the most. And he delivered. It wasn't just the water. He delivered all kinds of stuff, all right? And I haven't seen another person go back there since, right? They still need help. I'm telling you, they're reaching out to us on social media saying, is there any way you can get a message to anyone to come help us? It's just a forgotten land, just like the border, just like all of these inner cities that are deteriorating and rotting from inside. We went to Baltimore. We did a cleanup in Baltimore. People are OD'd right at our feet. People running out of their house with Narcan. They keep Narcan by their front door in Baltimore because people drop dead in the streets so frequently there that you run out of your house and Narcan someone back to life. We did it to 2 gentlemen right on the street in Baltimore. That is where we're at.
These Democrat-run cities.
Always the Democrat-run cities. They vote the same people in over and over again, and they can't figure out why nothing changes. Like President Trump said, right? He's like, what do you got to lose? And he's right. I mean, it's a pretty simple way to explain it to people, but what do they have to lose by voting for President Trump at this point? Because nothing good is going on in those cities. They were so happy to see us show up there and pick up trash. It made their day. They actually started coming out of their homes and helping us pick up garbage with them. All right? That's when you know you're making a difference. And that's why I continue to do these cleanups, because I can do a cleanup. Picking up trash is a very easy thing to do, and it has a big impact in the areas that you do, because all people want is someone to care about them, right? They don't want politicians to show up in front of the wall, do a bit, and then they're on the first thing smoking to their Wagyu steak in Washington, D.C. No one wants that anymore, okay? They want people to take action. These politicians, they're millionaires. They're all rich. Do you think maybe they could load up a truck with food and fill up a food bank while they're there? Why can't you do that?
Isn't it funny how they're able to, they present President Trump as if he's just so reachable and, oh, he's so rich, and
yeah.
Where are all the Democrats doing these same things? Like, he's talking to the people and they're not.
100%. He's a man of the people. And you see it when he goes to these towns, and whether he's buying McDonald's for everybody or he's in a Dairy Queen. The people, the excitement, it's genuine excitement. That kind of excitement doesn't exist on the left, because these people really care about our country. You can see it when you talk to President Trump. It pours out of him. It's real. You can feel it. He loves the United States. I don't get that with any other person. Vivek is maybe the only other person that I feel like genuinely cares about the United States and the people of the United States. And President Trump, it's obviously clear, he's proven that through the 4 years he was president, that he cares about this country. But when he goes into these small towns, I mean, it is like the lightest shine in this town, and the people love to see him because they know he cares about them.
Do you think he'll be the nominee?
I definitely think he'll be the nominee, and I 100% believe he will be the president of the United States again. 100%.
How can people who want to help with everything you're doing in East Palestine and the southern border, what can they do to help?
Yeah, so I've started a website because people have reached out to me through social media wanting to get involved in the cleanups. WeFundTheBlue.com and BorderCleanup.com are the 2 sites, because I fund the police. I don't just clean up the trash. We donate $10,000 at least the last 2 years to the sheriff, directly to the sheriff's departments, because these sheriffs are fighting a war on the border. That's what it is. They're pulled away from the crimes that are happening in their cities to stop illegal aliens from crossing the border. So, and they're doing it with old gear, old bulletproof vests, old vehicles. So I figured, hey, listen, I'm going to try and raise some money. If it's 1,000 or 10,000, great. But I need to give it to the people directly to the sheriff's department so they can put it to good use. And if you want to help me, please come join me, clean up trash with me. Every 9/11 is when I will be down there. 9/9, 9/10, 9/11. I'll be in Del Rio and Eagle Pass this year. Again, I'm going to do a cleanup in both areas. I would love for people to come out and pick up garbage with me. It will change your life.